This episode is sponsored by Fraze Flowers, a Western New York family-run flower farm and floral preservationist. They offer unique and one-of-a-kind pressed flowers in the shapes of buffaloes. Every buffalo is handcrafted, and because they are made with flowers, each one has their own look and personality.
You can get a hold of them on their website at phraseflowers.com. That's Frase flowers.com. Or check them out on Facebook and Instagram. Bring more joy and color into your life at Fraze Flowers.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Thursday, May 1st, 2025. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil, episode 356. We are in May. The NSYNC boys always said it's going to be May, and it's May. It's officially here. The weather's officially changing. There are leaves on the trees. We cut down a tree this last weekend. It's done. It's gone. It's in the back field now. I'm getting prepared to build my fence. So all the spring chores that lead into summer and fall are in full effect over here in the PK kingdom of lots of things to do with a 140-year-old house.
Yeah, we took with my extended weekend. Took some time off, and with the nice weather that finally happened, we worked on our garden a little bit, got that flipped over, took the year off last year for the wedding, so got that back going this year, and then added some pavers and things to other side gardens and whatnot. So did some cleaning, some spring cleaning. It was pretty nice. Got the garage all cleaned up from just throwing things in it for the winter because it's cold and I don't feel like dealing with it. So organized and swept up the garage a little bit for the spring. So doing the same thing, a little spring cleaning. But PK, we finally made it to the March to May. We made it to May. We have marched and the Bandits are still with us.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired of marching. Since we're already here, we can stop the marching.
Yeah, you can take a seat now. You can sit.
Oh, thank God. I've been very tired.
No,
but,
you don't have to march anymore.
It is a Bandits-only episode. We're going to be previewing two games, and good. It's kind of a weird one because same team. We don't have to do double the previews, which is nice, but the following. There's some change-ups here. As you can hear and listening now, we're recording on Wednesday. This will be out on Thursday. It's a day early because they play on Friday. That's what we've done all year, except for one occasion where we kind of both forgot that we do it on Thursdays on Friday games. But because they're playing Friday and Sunday, and it's a late Sunday game because they're headed to Vancouver, the Monday show is being pushed to Tuesday because of the late Sunday game. So you will not hear us in your ear holes on Monday. Listen for us on Tuesday to break down both of those games. We probably could have done it Sunday, but we wanted to digest it, feel better, go into Monday, record it, and put it out on Tuesday for your listening ear holes. So, yeah, that's the little bit of a change here. We're going to have a nice long break in between these two recordings. I'll miss hearing your voice in my ears, Phil. I'm saying ears a lot here. But also, we recorded an episode with Adam Levy on on Monday. It came out on Wednesday. He was a little tired from taking a train from New York City to Buffalo, and then flying from Buffalo to Vancouver, and then flying from Vancouver to New York City, all in a span of like 3 days. So, thank you for Adam Levy taking some time to jump on the show, even though he was super tired. But yeah, go listen to that interview that came out on Wednesday, and now we can finally dive into the episode, right? Right after the intro here, you can remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's wonderful article came out on Tuesday. Go give that a read. Close up shop on San Diego and the first round of the playoffs. Done, over. Give his article a read, and then you can kiss it goodbye as we look forward. You can check out our store on our link tree or at the social media sites by just hitting the shop tab. I'm sorry, I'm screwing that all up. I am what was his name? I am Anchorman. Ron Burgundy.
Ron Burgundy.
Got to it. Okay. You can check out our store on our link tree on all our social media sites, or at the website when you're reading Phil's article. After you're done, just hit the shop tab and you can represent the BSC on the go. There will be no time breakdowns in the description of the show because this is NLL driven fully. This is Buffalo Bandits. And there's a lot of milestones, Phil. I don't know if you saw, but it's like 2 full pages, so they should be quicker.
It's going to be a fastest 4-minute milestone.
Yeah, it should be a quicker one. So I'm going to cut out the averages, but you'll get that in the social media sites. But Buffalo versus Warriors, Friday and Sunday. We'll digest the other series, the Saskatchewan-Halifax one, at the end of the show. They've only faced one game this weekend, NLL. I got some things to say. But Buffalo versus Warriors, second time this year. It will be the second and third time this year, I should say, this weekend. Buffalo's coming in. These are the regular season numbers. There's only been one game played in the playoffs, so I didn't want to give the stats for that one because Buffalo would be 7th because they only scored 7 goals. But in the regular season, Buffalo was first, 13.45 goals for. Vancouver was down in 9th, but that does not tell the whole story. Their offense has been very, very good the last 7 games, 10.89, so take that number with a grain of salt. Goals against, these ones you can hold firm on. 10.83 for Buffalo, which was good for third. Vancouver, 9.56, which was first. Power plays, very similar. Buffalo, 42%. They were tied for 11th, and Vancouver 43%. They were tied for 9th. And then penalty kills, very similar as well. Buffalo 57 for 6th, and Vancouver 52%, tied for 9th.
Yeah, this game's going to be pretty much the heavyweight fight. I mean, I know the Rush and Halifax are going to be a good game, should be a good series. But this one, you mentioned it with Adam, that this is kind of one of the finals people might have been hoping for. We are getting it just a little bit sooner, so I do think this one's going to be wild. The Bandits are obviously the team to knock off, have been for a while. Vancouver's up and coming. Their rebuild is way too accelerated, and they are accelerating right past it, but they have a big roadblock in Buffalo. So with how hot Vancouver's been, with how electric they've been playing incredible. They already beat Buffalo in Buffalo. I know that game was a little bit different. We'll talk about that in a moment, but this game's just going to be a very, very big heavyweight fight. Like you said, this could be the championship final title game, title series. I could absolutely see these two teams being the ones to make it, but brackets are brackets. This is the side they're both on, so I think this could be a very, very big series and just a really good one between two arguably of the best teams in the league right now.
Yeah, I'm doing the math real quick before diving into, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that was their third game. Okay, so like we already mentioned it, Buffalo versus Vancouver already took place in Banditland earlier this season. It was the third game under Christian Del Bianco. That's what I was counting up, how many games he had played beforehand. This was their third game going into the trade to Vancouver. Vancouver won 13-12. Vancouver led 4-3 after 1, 7-4 at half. 9-8 after 3. Buffalo would score 3 straight to start the fourth to take that 11-9 lead. And then Vancouver would score 4 straight to take 13-11 lead. Ian McKay would get it to 13-12 with 3:37 to go. They would not capitalize and tie it. Christian Del Bianco was incredible in the final 30 to 40 seconds of that game. He made, I think, 3 or 4 saves. But the biggest story in this one is what transpired. There were 2 5-minute majors in this one. You had Nick Weiss, who came out of nowhere for no reason. There was already a man on him. Just drilled Ryan Martell across the boards and knocked off his helmet. That was determined to be a 5-minute major. And then Dylan Robinson's the one he was suspended for. The cross-check to the back of Ryan Martell's neck/head. It was another 5-minute major. But there was no wires in this one. Zach Belter, for whatever reason, was a healthy scratch. You had Taylor Dooley in. Made no sense why Dooley would in over Belter because their forward group is so much bigger than Dooley was. It made no sense. I don't understand it, but that's besides the point. It was a game where Keegan Ball got his 4, 6, and 10. Yeah, Charlon Beatty's got his 1, 6, and 7. But the issue was all the secondary scoring. Martell came into that one. Yes, he had scored 4 goals the week prior, but 2, 1, and 3. He was on a cold spell the majority of that season. Crawley, 2, 2, and 4. Claridge, who was playing very well this season, but in spurts, 1, 1, and 2. You had Lowen, who seems to kill Buffalo every year, 2, 2, and 4. So it was the secondary scoring that really hurt the Buffalo Bandits in this one, beyond just the 2 5-minute majors. Even if you take those out, it's still a secondary scoring that was a huge reason that Vancouver was able to capitalize on this one. So I'm hoping that going into this one, we'll go over the injuries and everything in a little bit, but I'm hoping that even if Buffalo eliminates those 2 5-minute majors, they find a way to limit the secondary scoring. Keegan Ball is going to get his. Adam Charlambides been a playmaker for the second half of the season once he's finally settled into the Kurt Malowski offense, but it's the secondary scoring. Lowen can't have 4 points on the night. You can't let Crowley get 4 points on the night. You got to limit the secondary scoring in this one.
And the scary thing about all of that is that's pretty much their exact blueprint of how they just beat Rochester was Keegan Ball got his. Charlambides with 5 assists, so he's, like you just said, set up man, assist man, that's what he does. And all their secondary scoring poured in 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 2 and 2 from Crowley. So exactly what you're worried about is exactly how they just defeated the Rochester Nighthawks. So like you said, it's going to be big. It's weird to kind of say, like, obviously you want to focus on Ball 100%. The dude is on fire, very terrifying. But outside of that, like, you just can't allow, like you said, their secondary scoring to be that consistent across the board. And that is exactly what they just did to Rochester. So, I mean, hopefully now with some tape on them and how they play with CDB, especially the offense, especially the transition, which we'll get into, but hopefully with a little bit more on them and Belter in the lineup and Wires in the lineup, they can do a little bit more on that secondary score.
Yeah, like you hinted at, Vancouver took down Rochester. We went into it a little bit more last episode on Monday, so go listen to that one, time description, so you can skip around if you want. Vancouver won 15-10 over Rochester in Vancouver. It was 4-1 Vancouver after 1. It was 93 at half, 11-5 after 3. It wasn't really close whatsoever. Vancouver just kind of took it and ran with it. But again, you had Ball, who had 11 points, and you can eliminate 1 assist because that's a different story. You already mentioned it, Charlambides 5 assists, but it was the secondary scoring again. It was 4 goals in transition. They had 6 block shots, 6 caused turnovers. Christian Del Bianco made 47 of 57 saves. They just were able to lock down Rochester's dangerous offense, and at times looked like they were actually Rochester. And this is a completely different Vancouver team. Like, if you had watched Vancouver the first 9-10 weeks of the season and you thought, okay, this offense isn't very dangerous, they get Christian Del Bianco, the whole team changes. The offense finally goes under the Kurt Malowski offense that you want to see, getting to those dirty areas, doing the things. And after he crucified his team to the press and then had that bye week, they came out with different energy since the blow up in the media that Kirk Malowski had over his offense, and pretty much said, like, hey, if you're not willing to play my offense, there's a seat up in the press box for you. You can go sit there. And then they all bought in. That was when Ryan Martell came out of nowhere, where last year and the year before that, he was 30-goal scorer. He was on 30-goal pace 2 years ago. He's finally come around and getting that secondary scoring. You had Charlambides, who, yes, he was playing good, but he wasn't that secondary option. And this one, 5 assists. He's the dish man right now. And then Keegan Ball's going to get his, but it still comes down to, if you can limit the transition game, which Buffalo has been very, very good at all year long, whether it's the back checking by the forwards or getting off quickly so the defense can get on and stop those transition games. If you're able to limit that and limit the secondary scoring, you stand a very good chance to be able to defeat the Vancouver Warriors and their offense that they like to run.
Yeah, in that game 1 against Vancouver earlier in the season, I just double-checked my notes. They only had 1 transition goal.
Yep.
And like you just mentioned, 4 against Rochester. So limiting that is massive. That's where a lot of those secondary scoring comes from. The single goals by multiple players, that's where a lot of that comes from, is in that transition. If you can limit that, shut it down, take 4 goals out of this game, and Rochester's looking a lot closer. I know it kind of got a lot closer toward the end, and that's why it was as close as it was toward the finish. But, I mean, you take some of those transition goals out that happened so quickly, and maybe Rochester could have hung in this game a little bit longer. But that offense, especially Ball, you have to play very, very close on him. He seems to be extremely good at lulling people into sleep and just kind of stands around there, dances with his stick a little bit, doesn't really attack the net all the time, but sits there, and then all of a sudden you give him that 2 feet of space and he fires a shot and just buries it over Hartley's shoulder. That was the other thing that worried me a little bit about this offense. I only counted 3 high goals against Hartley in this one, but Ball knows how to pick that corner, and especially the high ones. One of Matt Vince's big weaknesses. Everybody knows it. He knows it. It is what it is. But one of the things Ball can do really well, especially with his height and Crowley as well, is get those really high shots. So you cannot allow him any time and space, even if he looks like he's outside, he looks like he's just looking for a pass. You have to stay in his face the entire game in order to make it just very uncomfortable for him. Cannot give a player like that time and space to shoot. And I feel like last time they played them, he did that, or the Bandits did that a little bit too often. Again, he just needs that one step, and he can find a spot in the net to bury it.
Yeah, you might be hearing 3 puppies angry in the background. We still got 6 dogs in our house right now, but I think Brooks let them out now, so you're probably going to hear some puppies in the background. But I do have a question on Keegan Ball in just a second. But the injury-wise, Ryan Sheridan was doubtful last week. He's unlikely, has not played all year. He was in and out. He was out for the longest time. I believe it was the game after Buffalo. He was put to the active roster, but he was yet to play, so I do not expect him to play in this one. Peyton Cormier was questionable. He did not play in the game last week versus Rochester. But for Buffalo, Yannick was questionable. He ended up playing and being active. He was in the lineup, so unless something happened, I expect him back there. We'll see with Kluch. Matisse was put on the IR, but he was also listed as doubtful. We put on X that was good news to see him being doubtful rather than just straight out, because if he was straight out, I would think his availability this weekend is very much in question. I do not think he's going to play in both this weekend. If he is going to play at all, I would expect him to be back Sunday if he does play. I do not expect him to play on Friday if at all. And then the other one is Josh Burns' ankle. I mean, Adam Levy did put out that they expect him to play, but again, a long week. You never really want to trust the player to say he's going to play, because Josh Byrne, a couple playoffs ago, he said, yeah, I'm going to be right back in. He missed 2 games, so never trust the play. I am player side 99.9% of the time when it comes to contracts and everything else. Get your money when you can and all that. But I will never trust a player when he says he's healthy and he's going to play. See Keenan Allen in the NFL where he blanked everybody in the playoffs because I'm going to play, and then he sits out last minute. It's never trust a player. But my question to you, and we'll kind of go over the players here. We don't have to go in depth. Adam Charlabides, Peyton Cormier, Riley Lowen, and Ryan Martell are the lefties. For the righties, you got Keegan Ball, Kevin Crowley, Marcus Clarich. Dylan McIntosh has come on very strong, and then Ryan Sheridan, who is yet to play this year. But my question to you, and we can kind of tie this into what we've seen other teams in Buffalo at one point do to Jeff Teat. If you're the Buffalo Bandits defense, do you take a Justin Martin? Do you take a Nick Weiss? Do you take one of your lockdown defenders and put him squarely on Keegan Ball? Even if Keegan's standing at the restraining line, play 4-on-4. Would that be your game plan? Maybe not the whole game, but maybe a few shifts every once in a while. You lock him down. You do not even let him touch the ball and see what their offense looks like. To me, I would throw a few wrinkles out there, because we have not seen that out of Buffalo all season long. It just hasn't happened. I've watched every game twice. It has not happened. So would that be part of your game plan defensive-wise to try to shut down the Vancouver offense?
Absolutely. That's not to say the rest of their offense can't do it, but right. He just put up 11 points in the last game. He put up 10 points against Buffalo earlier in the season. The offense runs through him 100%. If he gets shut down, you're forcing their secondary options to step up. Can they do it? Sure. I don't think that their secondary options would be shut out or anything. I think Crowley is looking better and better as the season goes on. But if you take out Ball as much as you can, again, he's always going to get his. It is what it is. Right. He's going to score. He's going to get assists. It's nothing to get upset about. He's an extremely good player. But if you limit him instead of 10 points to 5 points, I think you're looking at a much better chance of a victory. If you allow him to get going and he gets up in the 10, 11 point range, you're looking much less likely to win. So to me, yes, I would 100%. And like you said, maybe if it's in a first half, second half thing, whether they come out normal in the first half and see how he's doing that game, see how their typical defense is holding up against him. And if he only has 1 goal, 1 assist in the first half, let it go. And it is what it is. But if he has, a good 3-2 start to the game and all of a sudden you're like, all right, we need to switch. Then maybe in the second half, you put someone solely on him, or like you said, to throw a wrinkle in it, maybe you start the first half with somebody solely on him, and then in the second half back off a little bit and see how the game goes. So it could be a lot of feeling out. I don't know if the Bandits will actually do it, but we have seen them put a shutdown defender on another team's top scorer plenty of times. Like you said, we haven't really seen it too much this year, but if there was ever a time to mix it up and mix that back in, I think this is the team to do it against, especially because, yes, again, their secondary options are fine. They're not bad players, but Ball is obviously their guy. He is the guy in that team right now. So it's not even like a Dane and Josh thing where if you shut down Dane, you still have Josh to worry about, and he's still extremely good. Like, they don't really have that 1A, 1B to that level. So I think if you shut down Ball, again, you're asking the rest of their options to step up, and you're also asking them to step up against an elite Bandits defense and an elite Matt Vince right now. So I don't have faith in their secondary options versus this defense and Vince, as we just saw in the last game against San Diego. So if you can find a way to eliminate Ball as best to your ability, again, he's going to get his. Hold him to 5 points. I think you're looking at a much better chance of winning than if he does get on that run of 10 or 11 points.
Yeah, I think if Ball gets 8 or more, Vancouver likely wins that game. I mean, if he gets 8 or more in both games, it's likely a sweep from Vancouver, in my opinion. I mean, with how good their defense and Christian Del Bianco has been playing. As far as Buffalo's defense, we don't really have to touch on it much. Again, I think Matisse, if he does play, it's going to be the Sunday game. But if they win the game on Friday, do they push him to try to sweep the series and risk anything? Or do they sit him out this whole week and move forward? Again, this is all me assuming that he's going to be moved to questionable this coming weekend. We'll find out more on Friday when the injury report comes out. But I don't really think there's going to be much more in terms of the shakeup on defense unless there was a nick and injury that we don't know about that happened in the past game. So I think they're probably going to roll out the exact same defense that we just saw give up 4 goals, and why the heck wouldn't you? But it will be interesting to see how they D up on Keegan Ball. But before we dive into what the defense looks like with Vancouver and, of course, Christian Del Bianco, let's dive into our second sponsor of the show, Tap That Tap Room, at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. It's Buffalo's first woman-owned self-pour bar. Absolutely love self-pour bars. They're my favorite. I will never partake in a regular bar ever again because it's so much easier. Featuring 30 consistently rotating taps, they offer something for everyone: beers, ciders, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages.
If you happen to be listening to this episode on Thursday and you are a teacher, first responder, or in the military, head on down to Tap That Tap Room and get your 10% off your entire tab on Friday. Not only is it happy hour from 3 to 7 with the entire beer wall discounted, but it is also the Bandits watch party for the home game if you did not get tickets, or if it's too expensive for you. Go to Tap That Tap Room. Enjoy the game there. They have orzo pizza from 5 p.m. until they're sold out, and this also includes 15% off all your orders during the Bandits games. Discounts on discounts. It does not get much better than that until you find out it is a double trouble weekend with a second Bandits watch party for Game 2 in Vancouver Sunday at 9 p.m. Could not ask for a better weekend to go to Tap That Tap Room. But if you want to find out what other events they have coming up, check out their Facebook page and Instagram to find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Go to tapthattaproom.com.
So move over to the defense. Connor Farrell should be very fresh.
We move on.
Yes, sir.
I do want to give a big shout out, mainly because we were extremely hard on him, and I wrote in my article, but I don't think we gave him a shout out on the last episode. Cam Wires, my goodness, he was horrible and then went out injured, and I was extremely worried. So not only does he deserve a shout out for playing, because that if he sat out, not saying that I'm sure if it was an injury, he would have only sat out if he needed to. But because he gritted through the injury, he allowed Ian McKay to play forward. He scored 2 goals in a 5-goal game. That was massive for the team. So not only being out there, I thought Cam Warriors looked great. He looked much more like we saw him at the beginning of the season pre-injury, which I did not expect from a third-quarter injury the game before. I was very worried about that, and it might have been one of those situations, because we don't know, that they were just like, hey, if you even slightly tweaked it, you're done. We need you for playoffs. Just bench him the rest of the time. But he looked great. He was flying around. He was very physical. So I just wanted to give him some credit for the great game he had, because we were pretty harsh on him the couple of games before. So great job, Wires. All right, moving on to
it was very beneficial that he played. Otherwise, Ian McKay doesn't score those 2 goals, and they lose 4-3 in the extra lowest scoring game in NFL history. But like I mentioned, Connor Farrell should be very fresh. Only took 11 draws, won 4 of them. He's going against Alex Stathakis. Yes, I nailed that last name. I've been worried about it for a while. I know how to say it. I'm very well aware of how to say it. I say it perfectly fine, but when it comes to actually reading it and saying it right, I screwed up. But he's 59% from the dot all season long. This defense in this transition game is very, very dangerous. They're mean. They're strong. We said it before the first game that we said Buffalo likely has not faced a defense like this all season long. What happens when you get punched in the face? How do you react? Yes, they scored 12 goals. They've given up 13. They likely should have won if it wasn't for the 2-minute majors or 2 5-minute majors and so on and so forth. But they got Reed Bowering. They got Ryan Dilks, who's still a monster back there, 31 caused turnovers. Owen Grant is to me, I still would put him in contention. He's at least in the top 3 for transition player of the year, if not winner. And yes, I love Ryan Tarafanko from Halifax. Yes, I love Jake Boudreau from Saskatchewan. There's a few other players mixed in there. But Owen Grant, 15 goals, 9 assists, 24 points, 103 loose balls, 28 caused turnovers, 27 block shots. That, to me, is a true transition player that does stuff out the front gate and out the back gate in the transition role. He is so dangerous. Jeff Cornwall comes over from Calgary in the offseason. He just adds pieces to this one. Brett Mitski, he's still the captain back there, locking it down, and Remo Shinato back there as a rookie 6th overall pick. He's been mixed in a little bit, and then, obviously, Christian Del Bianco, who's 7-0 since coming over. But this defense, again, it will be interesting to see how Buffalo uses the tape that they got from game 1 versus them and versus Rochester. The 7 total games that Christian Del Bianco's been in net, they've gotten more comfortable with him back there. He's dangerous in the transition game. I believe he had 3 assists in the Rochester game. So this team is nothing to take lightly. There's a reason that going into the playoffs, Vancouver was one of the favorites to win it all because of how powerful they're playing. Some of the teams that hit their stride the perfect time is going into the playoffs. To me, Rochester's hitting their stride at the perfect time. Buffalo was kind of like limping along, and I'm not even saying that they were limping along. I think they were intentionally doing what they were doing in preparation for the playoffs. We kind of saw the defense in Mad Vince just unbelievable in the first game, and that to me proves that, hey, they were kind of Kansas City chiefing it all season, in my opinion. I'm not calling them out. I'm just saying that's what it seems like to me when they were struggling down the backstretch. They got to that 7-0 and we're like, okay, we can put it in cruise control for their way on. But Vancouver, they're the hottest team in the NLL right now. You got Halifax right back there. You had Rochester before they lose 2 straight and out of the playoffs now. But 7 straight wins since Christian Del Bianco. And it's not just him, it's the offense too. But this defense and transition game is one of the dangerous in the entire league. And Buffalo has to face them twice this weekend.
Yeah, there are 4 things. I already forgot one of them. At least 3 things that concern me heading into this game as far as defense goes. One
are they
is
all
Nanacoke.
Players?
What was that?
Are they all players?
No.
Oh, okay.
2 are. One was Nanacoke coming into the playoffs banged up. They need him to be a big bruiser. I think he looked fine in game 1 against San Diego, but how healthy is he? Cloutier, if he plays, they need him again to be that big bruiser to get players open, get people open, find some room. How healthy is he going into this game if he plays? Josh Byrne, need him to be electric and fast with that ankle. I don't know if he's going to be able to be, ankle break and burn, and they need him to be in this kind of game. And then finally, the refs. And I want them to call it very similar to the San Diego game,
Agreed.
But that leans very heavily again into 2 elite defenses, especially a big, powerful, angry defense like Vancouver. If they call, if they have their whistles in their pockets the whole game and just let the players play, it's going to be a very rough night for both offenses, not just Buffalo's, Vancouver's as well. But if that is what they allow it to do, this is a defense that is built to play like that, very similar to Buffalo, and it's going to be a very long night. If Nanacoke isn't fully healthy, if Cloutier is not fully healthy, and if Byrne, we don't think he's going to be, in my opinion, I don't think he's going to be 100% Byrne if he's out there. And if he's not, he needs to use his speed and physicality to break down this Vancouver defense. And if he's not able to, other players are going to have to step up in a big way for this Bandits offense. It's going to be a very physical, very rough night, especially if the refs let it go like they did against San Diego.
Yeah, as talented and on such a streak right now that Christian Del Bianco is in. You already know what you're going to get from Christian Del Bianco, but Buffalo has weirdly had nice success against him. They put up 12, including those 2 5-minute majors that they were playing 5-on-4. So you can factor that into the 12 goals if you want this year. Last year, they put up 14 on him when he was with Calgary, and they chased him early. That was one of the reasons that he did not play every single second last year. But I do think that Buffalo's offense can have success against Christian Del Bianco because we have seen it. This is no shot at Christian Del Bianco. This is not me talking down to him. He is an extremely talented player. I got in trouble for even mentioning that he could possibly be an MVP candidate this year. But I do think that Buffalo can get to him because they have found success against him. And it's very weird to say, but it's very true. But it comes down to what roster decisions are Buffalo going to do. I personally, and because Chris Cloutier was not in the lineup last week, he was not on the injury report, I would assume he's healthy, and it was a decision by the coaching staff not to play him. You have to put him in this game if he is healthy, in my opinion. This is no shot at Clay Scanlon. I know there's a bunch of fans out there of Clay Scanlon. I love his style, but he's too small in this game going against this defense. You need a bruiser out there like Chris Cloutier, especially with Josh Burns' ankle. Josh Burns not going to be 100% in this one. I don't care what magic potion he's going to be using. He's not going to be able to be typical air burn in this one unless somehow that ankle is wrapped with like the flex tape that you can put on a boat. We saw the boat in half.
Or they can
put
use
it on
the spray that soccer players use to magically go from a broken leg to perfectly fine 5 minutes later. So
go overseas,
maybe they have some of that,
that.
imported from England.
But even then, I think this is going to be a game where you need something from Tehoka Nanako. He's been very quiet recently. You're going to need Chase Frazier, who was held scoreless off the stat sheet completely last week. You need something from him. You need Dane Smith to be vintage Dane Smith. Dane Smith needs to be the MVP in this one for Buffalo to take the victory because Josh Byrne is not going to be 100%. You have Ian McKay, who's electric on the left side, but he's not a typical forward. You got Tehoka Nanako, who's been quiet. If Dane Smith can put up 8 to 9 points in this one, I think Buffalo wins. Like I think if you keep Keegan Ball under 8 and you have Dane Smith 8 and over, I think Buffalo wins. That's my. But I agree with the refs' sentiment. I hope that the ref like they did last week. It was perfect. They made the calls that they needed. They weren't on ticky-tack, so hopefully they keep the whistles in their pocket until something goes over the line. Then make the call. I thought last week was very fantastic besides the one Chase Frazier ticky-tack call. Whatever. It's one call. I don't care. Me and Adam Levy were going back and forth on the refs, and I sided with him that Buffalo fans are a little bit, they're a little soft when it comes to referees' calls, and they were booing. I'm like, this is perfect. Like, let it go. But I do agree. It's going to be very interesting to see what the roster looks like Friday and Sunday, especially after a back-to-back. But, Phil, I don't know if you have anything else to add to what we're going to be looking at. It's going to be it's kind of tough to break down completely when you're not exactly sure what the roster is going to look like. But that's what's fun about, to me, I don't think Matisse is playing at all this week, which means Ian McKay is going to be up at forward full-time. I think you got to put Chris Cloutier in the lineup, and you need something from Nanako and Frazier to be able to walk out victorious.
Yeah, the only other thing, against Rochester, CDB was pretty equal as far as where he let goals in. He had 3 inside, 4 mid-range, 3 outside, so he's not perfect. He is, he's a goalie who lets goals in occasionally. He is extremely good. He is arguably probably second best, or if not, very close to it in the league, but he's still coming back. He still has flaws. The Bandits can find a way to get to him. Like you said, they've had success against him. He's not perfect. I don't know if the defense is allowed to play, again, like both teams were allowed against San Diego. I think it's going to be very tough to get inside, but to see that he was allowing some mid-range to outside goals, I think is good for a player like Fraser, who's just going to start whipping them at the net like he does, catches goalies kind of sleeping, which he's very, very good at. But I think success from the inside is going to be very tough to get. But I think with him allowing some of those outside goals, I don't think he's going to allow, a ton by any means, but I think you can get some past him. It's going to be a very interesting series. And like you said, I think there's a lot of big coaching decisions because it's a 3-game series. Do you hold players out who are slightly injured, whether it's to have them heal for this series? Do you think you can sit them, like you just mentioned, Matisse, if he's, we'll say 90% and he wants to be out there, do you hold him for the whole weekend in case there's a game 3? Do you hold him the whole weekend trusting your team that just allowed only 3 essentially goals until, 1 second left to hold it again and then bring them back for the finals, hoping your team makes it? Like, there's a lot of very interesting calls that the coaching staff is going to have to make, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, especially I think a lot of this coaching decisions might not even be made until after a result on Friday, because do you want to push Matisse on Friday to get that win, or do you hold him off? Hopefully you get the win and then push him on Saturday, because if you get the win on Friday without him, I can't see him playing on Sunday, because regardless, win or lose, I guess even if you lose, you're going to a game 3 the following weekend. So even the roster decisions that are made on Friday, the results can be affected on what you do on Sunday. So it's going to be very interesting, but we're going to predict both games here. Phil, game 1 in Banditland Friday night. What is your score prediction for Buffalo versus Vancouver?
I am going to keep it low. I don't know. It's hard to see what this offense is going to do, but I don't know if we get a high-scoring game maybe the entire way through. The Bandits' defense is ridiculous. I think they will key in on ball. I think they're going to do a good job against him. I think Vancouver will still get theirs, but I'm going to go, I think, 10-8.
Victory?
Victory.
We have the same score prediction. I also believe, and that means it's probably going to be a high-scoring game. It's probably going to be a high-scoring game. Although
it'll be 21-19.
In the 4 years we've been doing this, we've predicted every single game, not correctly. I've been the only one. I've done it twice. But we've only predicted the same score 2 times, and both times we've done it, Buffalo did end up winning, and they held their opponent. The one time we predicted 15-8 victory versus Las Vegas last year, it was 14-5 win. Earlier this year, we both had him winning 13-2 in Calgary in that back-to-back, or that second of the home and home, I should say. They won 11-6. So this
both
one
11-8
victory.
Both good scores.
It's good. So second matchup on Sunday, 9 p.m. in Vancouver. They're traveling cross country. What's your score prediction here?
As fantastic as they have been away, shockingly.
Oh my God, is he doing it for the first time this season?
I might have to. I do think, maybe just for the sake of wanting the excitement of a Game 3 back in Banditland and seeing Christian Del Bianco one more time up close, I will say a loss. I do think, I don't know, I feel like second weekends are always very tough to judge. It's either going to be they're exhausted and no one wants to play and it's going to be low scoring, or they're exhausted and the defenses don't want to play and it goes high scoring. So I feel like it's a tough one to predict. I will still keep it close. I still think the defense and Vince are just kind of otherworldly. So I'm going to go 9-8 loss.
I thought we were going to have the same score. I got them 11-10 loss. So we both have them going to Game 3. But this would snap Buffalo's streak of 6 straight playoff wins up in the air. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's 7. I forgot this year's as well. 5 last year, the year before that when they won the finals, and then 1 this year. So they're on a 7-game winning streak in the playoffs, but we have them snapping that after 8 on Sunday night.
Wait, what? Isn't it 5-1?
Yeah. Let us know in the comments what your score predictions are, and we'll see who nails it. But before we dive into the long milestones that are coming up and breaking down Halifax versus Saskatchewan, their 1 game, let's dive into our third and final sponsor of the show, the Totally Buffalo Store.
Totally Buffalo Store's mission is to celebrate all things Buffalo with over 100 local artisans. They are your place to go when you need a gift for a friend or you just want to shop around for something for yourself, possibly for a big Bandits weekend. They offer 3 locations: 3328 Sheridan Drive in Amherst, 3459 Amelia Drive in Orchard Park, and 467 Center Street in Lewiston.
Now, they might say the holiday season is in the wintertime, around December, end of November, but there are
October.
holidays spread out across the entire year. There are things to recognize the entire year, and next week is Teachers Week. They have already been broadcasting it and advertising it on their Facebook and Instagram sites, so go to the Totally Buffalo Store. They have everything that you might need to show your teachers how much you just appreciate what they do for you. As you're young, you might not truly appreciate what the teachers do for you, but as you grow up and you age out of high school and elementary school and into college, you really do see how much work the teachers put in for the little pay they have. Get something for your teachers just to appreciate how much they do for you and, how much they actually care about you, because it is deeply, they do love you and they definitely want to see best for you. So go out there and show them what you can, and gift-wise. Nobody says no to a gift, and it always brings a smile to everybody's faces. But Mother's Day is also right around the corner. Make sure you stock up. And don't wait until the last minute like some people on this podcast do. I'm pointing to myself if you're not watching YouTube. But you need to get what you need to get to show your mother and your specific loved one. It could be your grandmother. It could be whoever in your life, a woman in your life that shows you love. It doesn't just have to be a mother. Just go to the Totally Buffalo store. They're stocked up there. Show them how much you love them with anything. They got candles, they got soaps, moisturizers, whatever you possibly could want to give to that woman in your life that is a mother figure. Go to the Totally Buffalo store to get what you need for that special occasion. So to find out what else they got and the awesome pictures they post on Instagram and Facebook, check out the Totally Buffalo store and totallybuffalostore.com to check out anything else. Again, I always hate doing these ones right before the milestones, but there's so many booked up here, Phil. Are you ready for this?
I am. I am ready when you are.
Space Jam.
Yeah, you need some intro music to the milestone.
I'd have to push the music in my background 9 times just to restart the song of how long this one is. It's long. It's long. So this is the slowest milestone minute today. All these possible milestones will be posted on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. leading up to the game. We post them before each and every one. So if you miss one in these, I don't know, there's 19, 20, there's probably close to 40. You don't want to listen back because I wouldn't want to listen back. You can check for them there. So here we go. If Steve Priolo plays in both games this weekend, he will move into 5th in games played in NLL history. Dane Smith plays in both games this weekend. He'll move into 7th. If Paul Dawson plays in both games, he will move into 8th. Dane Smith is 3 goals away from tying Gary Gait for 4th place in NLL history. Josh Byrne is 11 assists away from tying Colin Doyle for 6th place in NLL history, and he's 12 away from tying Mark Matthews for 5th. Dane Smith is 10 points away from passing John Tavares for the most points in NLL playoff history. He averages 6.16. Josh Byrne is 7 points away from tying Sean Evans for 9th place in NLL playoff history. He's 8 away from tying Gary Gait and 11 away from tying Mark Matthews for 7th. Steve Perillo is 22 loose balls away from tying John Tavares for 2nd place in NLL playoff history. Nick Weiss is 4 caused turnovers away from tying Dan McRae for 10th place in NLL history. He's 5 away from tying Mitch Desnew and Brett Mitsky. Remember, he's playing for 8th place. Justin Martin is 8 blocks. Josh Martin is 1 block shot away from tying Kevin Brownell for 4th place in NLL playoff history. When John Tavares coaches in both games this weekend, he will move into 5th place in games coached in NLL playoff history. With 1 win this weekend, he will tie Les Brantley for 2nd. If he wins both, he'll pass him. Matt Vince is 103 saves away. Again, remember, there's 2 games, so these numbers might seem outrageous, and they're not. 103 saves away from 2,000 for his career. Dane Smith is 9 points away from 200 for his playoff career. Matt Vince, we would only be the 2nd place player to ever do it. Matt Vince is 82 saves away from 1,000 for his Bandits playoff career. If Nick Weiss plays in both games, he will tie Mark Steenhouse for 4th place in Buffalo Bandits playoff history. Nanticoke is 3 goals away from tying Micah Kersey for 7th. Kyle Buchanan is 1 goal away from tying Ryan Benesh for 10th and 4 away from tying Darius Kilgore for 9th. Ian McKay is 5 goals away from tying Ryan Benesh for 10th and 6 away from tying Darius Kilgore for 9th. That should not say 10th there. Chris Colucci is 5 assists away from tying Mark Steenhouse for 4th place. Kyle Buchanan is 2 assists away from passing Darius Kilgore for 6th. Nick Weiss is 3 assists away from tying Darius Kilgore for 6th, and Ian McKay is 4 assists away from tying Darius Kilgore for 6th. Kyle Buchanan is 5 points away from tying Darius Kilgore for 7th. Teo Nanticoke is 6 points away from tying Darius Kilgore for 7th. Both Ian McKay and Chase Frazier are both 2 points away from tying Ryan Benesh for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits playoff history. Dane Smith is 3 loose balls away from passing Jim Veltman and Pat McCready for 6th place in Buffalo Bandits playoff history. Josh Byrne is 4 loose balls away from passing Rich Kilgore for 10th. Kyle Buchanan is 8 loose balls away from passing Rich Kilgore for 10th. Ian McKay is 1 caused turnover away from tying Kevin Barnell for 3rd place. Connor Farrell is 7 faceoffs away from passing Rich Kilgore for 3rd. Connor Farrell is 4 faceoff wins away from passing Darius Kilgore for 3rd. And the moral of the story of this is Darius Kilgore and Rich Kilgore are moving further and further down the leaderboard.
So just under 3 minutes.
Not terrible. It would have been even longer if I would have done the averages there. So look for the social media sites for those averages.
And to give PK a quick break, I
Thank
did
you.
send. Yeah, you're welcome. I did send you a Facebook memory recently. It popped up for me April 29th, just to remind Bandit fans not only where we were, but how great of a day it might have been. So the Bandits lost a close game, and Stanhouse got his 1,000th points. This is April 29, 2017. Stanhouse got his 1,000th point, but the Bandits secured last place / the first pick in the next season's draft.
But Phil,
Turned
why?
into-
Why? That sounds bad.
Oh, yeah, it was horrible until that player was Josh Byrne. And here we are.
That turned
today.
out pretty well.
But that was less than 10 years ago, people. Just remember the good times. Remember how great this is. They were dead less than 10 years ago. So remember that. But also it turned into Josh Byrne. And yeah, history wrote itself.
Yeah, I'm a little flush from all those milestones. Please make a lot of them happen. It stinks because the milestones that the records that were there were so great because the limited amount of playoff games, but because there are so many playoff games now, those records are just being smashed out of the park. So there's just
I feel like
many.
it's going to have to be like they won't because they can barely have basic stats. But I feel like the points per game in playoffs needs to be also just up there to kind of compare and contrast how great these old records were. Like you said, now you have so many more games that you're playing per year, especially when you're going to 4 straight finals and just kind of tearing through the NLL. I mean, Dane Smith, just amazing. I mean, we're not trying to take away from what he's doing. It is incredible. But I think it took Johnny a little bit longer with the less games they used to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. All those milestones and records should have a per game next to it, so you can kind of see.
Even the NFL now with the extended
agreed
season, just per game. Give me a per game, then it really breaks it down to what we're looking at.
Yeah, not diminishing any other talent because you're still going to put up the numbers, but per game would be nice to see. But the final thing to wrap up this episode, Saskatchewan, the number 2 seed, has to go to Halifax, the number 3 seed, to start the playoffs. Stupid. I will give NLL credit. They did put out a statement of why. They said pretty much it's logistics. Can't do anything about it, even though there was nothing going on in Saskatchewan this weekend that would hinder them. The issue that I have with this is twofold. One, I think this gives a massive advantage to Halifax. One, because you start the series at home. If Halifax wins game 1, they have to steal 1 game in Saskatchewan. That's all they have to do to win the series. Second is if Vancouver or Buffalo sweep this weekend, they get a whole week off, which means Halifax and Saskatchewan not only have to play 1 game the following week, but they could possibly have to play 2 games going into the finals. It's a massive disadvantage to especially Saskatchewan, but both of these teams, whoever wins out of this, is at a massive disadvantage going into the following one because they either have to play 1 or 2 games versus Vancouver or Buffalo who has to either play 1 or none. And it's another shot of the, and I haven't ranted against the league in a while. I guess we did against Helmets last week, but even Adam Levy said some of that is on the players. And some of it's on the referees. You have to enforce the rules that are there. And the chin straps are supposed to be tight against the chin. Remember we talked about that last season going into it. And there's so many times where the players just don't have their chin straps tight. And that's another reason. So if they enforce that, maybe there'll be less penalties moving forward with the helmets knocked off. But I do think that this is another time where the league is just coming up short. Like, you knew for how long that the playoffs were this coming weekend. And you knew what the schedules were at the arenas in those weekends. It's just, I think this is it's a big time. I don't know how to phrase this. I feel bad for Saskatchewan and Halifax that have worked their tails off for 19 games this season, and that game and their season could be determined because of scheduling. It's stupid. And again, I understand that there's secondary and third and fourth and however many in their arenas, but if you want to be the next major league, this doesn't happen in the NFL. This doesn't happen in the MLB. This does not happen in the other major leagues. So if you want to be taken seriously, these kind of things can happen. But that game will be taking place in Halifax Saturday at 6:30. So you'll get Buffalo versus Vancouver on Friday, Saskatchewan versus Halifax on Saturday, and Buffalo versus Vancouver on Sunday. And Bandits fans might want to hope for a sweep because they'll get a little bit extra rest no matter what, because the finals ain't starting, even though they said they could possibly start next weekend, Phil. They could possibly start. They're not happening. It can't possibly happen. So another round of applause for the NLL and their shortcomings.
It would be great to see some rest if the Bandits were to advance. Get some of these injured players a little extra rest. Not a big deal. But I do think more than anything, like you said, it's a bad look for the league. Like to have your playoffs, have your situation that you have moved around. Like you said, you wouldn't see it in the NHL, you wouldn't see it in the NFL. The Bills aren't supposed to host a home game, and all of a sudden, like, actually, no, we can't have you guys host a home game. You're going to be away this game. It doesn't happen in other leagues, and that's why it looks bad. And again, if you want to be taken seriously as a very big up-and-coming professional league, then your playoff schedules need to be set. You need to find a way to get priority in these buildings, logistical, whatever you have to do in the offseason to make sure this never happens again. Make sure it happens. I don't know what that means, but you need to be priority in these buildings. You need to be able to find a way to get these teams to where they need to go so that these schedules can play out how they're supposed to play out. They shouldn't be having last-minute adjustments unless, like in Tampa Bay where there is no stadium. If something like that happened, fine, mix up what you got to do. But in this situation where, like you said, it is available, seemingly, but to not have it be available for Saskatchewan and then to have them kind of be at a disadvantage to have to go to Halifax for game one and then have two games in Saskatchewan, it is just a bad look for the league more than anything.
Yeah, and for everybody that's saying Halifax and Saskatchewan are tough to travel to, completely agree. I understand the logistics of that, but it's just you've had how long to prepare this, and it's just, even if you didn't know these two teams were going to be facing off against each other, it should be under a dome of, okay, if this happens, this is the plan. If it's these two teams, these are the plan. It just seems like they waited, oh, shoot, Saturday night, these are the two teams, how are we going to do this? It's another thing where it's like the league is doing it last minute, and that seems to be the case for a lot of things. But I mostly feel bad for Saskatchewan and Halifax, but especially Saskatchewan, who had a fantastic season, and they might lose because they have to travel on the road, even though they're the higher seed. It's another thing where the league is not being taken seriously because of their own fault. But that wraps up this episode. Phil, is there anything else to add before we dive into a very, very extended break where we won't record again until Monday night? So a reminder, our next episode will not be out until Tuesday. But Phil, a long weekend coming up.
Very, very important one for the Buffalo Bandits. I think it's going to be an extremely good series, but it's also a little bit nerve-wracking. Vancouver's coming in real hot, and they are scary. But so is Buffalo. So we will see what happens, but I'm excited for a jam-packed NLL playoff weekend.
So we will be back on Tuesday. Remember, Tuesday, for our normal episode to break down both of these games. We'll also talk about the one game for Saskatchewan and Halifax. So have a nice long week. You won't hear from us for a bit. But remember, you can go listen to the Adam Levy episode from Wednesday. Give Phil's article a read from Tuesday. And if you really want to listen back and relive Buffalo's win versus San Diego, you can listen back to Monday's episode. But again, we will be back Tuesday for our normal episode. So thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room, Totally Buffalo Store, and Phrase Flowers for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Go. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Once again, go read Phil's article from Tuesday. Check out our store on our link tree, on our social media sites, or at the shop tab at the top of the website. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, leave us that review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.